Welcome. My name is George Fotis. I'm with the Small Business Development Center. And today we're going to talk about how to evaluate your budget and your cash flow. And this is brought to you, for those that are listening in, brought to you by the Business Support Webinar Series through the Rockford Chamber of Commerce. It's our hope with this presentation that you'll be able to gain some good information on how to do a cash flow budget and also how to address some of your cash flow challenges. So a little bit about myself. I owned a uniform business for over 20 years, and we also had some cash flow budget issues that we always had to deal with, and can definitely relate to a lot of small business owners what they're going through right now and some of their cash flow challenges. So that said, we'll go ahead and start the presentation, and I will share my screen with you. So again, this is a presentation on how to evaluate your budget and cash flow. And if for any reason you do need further assistance or would like to reach out to the Small Business Development Center, you can reach out to us by email at sbdc@gbsu.edu or visit our website, sbdcmichigan.org, or we're just a phone call away at 331-7370. So the Michigan SBDC, a little bit about ourselves. We are a cooperative. We are funded through a cooperative agreement with the Small Business Administration, as well as the Michigan Economic Development Corp, and also matching funds through Grand Valley State University, who is our host. And as you can see, we have offices throughout the state, in different regions, and even all the way up in the UP. Some of the services that we offer are one-on-one business consulting at no cost. We also offer some really good business education and webinars. If you go to our website, you can go to the tab on our homepage where it says you can request for workshops, and some really good stuff there that you can check out from home. We also offer some market research, and right here at Stevens School of Business, and this is some really good stuff. If you have a new product or service that you're trying to do, it gives you that market validation. We can do industry reports. We can also do competitive analysis. And if you do have a website, we even do search engine optimization. And then we do offer technology commercialization. If you do have any questions, and like I said, you would like further assistance or one-on-one consulting, if you go to our website, again, sbdcmichigan.org, you'll see right on the homepage, there is a tab there that says Request for Business Consulting. And if you click on that, it will guide you to the next step, and you'll be teamed up with one of us consultants that are in the Kent County area. So why is a cash flow budget important? A budget is, like I said, it is a key role in making some sound financial decisions for your business, especially with if there's any shortfalls that you see coming because of the shutdown that we had. It also helps you to identify areas where you think you can decrease some of your expenses, which in turn would increase your profits. And those profits are important because that'll allow you to set funds aside that you can use to inject into your cash flow if needed. It's also a way, if you did want to secure any loans and funding, a lot of lenders do require that you look at that you do have a cash flow projection in place. And it is a must for any thriving and sustainable business. So some things to consider, especially right now with these challenging times that we're going through, is how to break up your expenses before you start on a budget and doing a cash flow. And you want to figure out which are your critical expenses and non-critical expenses. The critical expenses could be payroll, taxes, and insurance, because these are things that you do have to pay. If you do have staff that works for you, you do have to go ahead and get them paid. Of course, you have taxes, and it's always important to keep up on your insurance premiums. Some non-critical expenses could be suppliers, where you can possibly kick the can down the road in extending some payments to them. Rent, for those who lease, you could ask for a deferment of payments. Marketing, sometimes you may want to put some marketing aside, especially if you're not busy as you are, you're not getting the sales that you're looking for. And then, of course, travel and entertainment. If you have a favorite show that you want to go to, sometimes it's best to put that on hold. So before we do a cash flow budget, some things to consider that will have a direct result in doing a budget and doing a cash flow is one, consider your and review your revenue and expenses for the next 12 months. Take a look at what that looks like. Also establish a priority of payments as noted above, and do organize those expenses. You do want to communicate with your landlord as well. Try to get any rent deferments as you can, and then do talk to your suppliers for any assistance if they can extend some credit terms and also help you out if you are in a crunch. And then do consider available funding options because right now with a lot of business owners are going through a short-term cash flow challenge. So some funding options are out there. Do know though, if you do take any loans out, you do have to pay them back. Okay, so once we have figured out the above, then we get into doing a cash flow projection, which will help you with your budget. This is a template that was downloaded from our website, and it's available to everyone to download and fill in as needed. And for those that not too familiar with how to do a cash flow projection, basically you have you're going to have cash on hand at the beginning of the month. Then you're going to have your cash receipts and any cash sales. Then you get to the fun stuff where you're going to have cash paid out, and this could be materials and inventory purchases, direct labor, and payroll, which is a huge expense to most businesses, and so on. Then you have it's going to tell you what your cash position is at the end of the month once those expenses are taken into consideration. And that cash position at the end of the month does get carried forward to the next month and so on. So what I've done is in this next slide, I've taken this cash flow projection template and broken it down. And if you could follow my cursor, I know it's kind of hard to read, but we'll do the best we can. I've kind of highlighted some of the entries that we have projected, and I'll go over the details on how I did that. So this is George's uniform shop, and this is just a fictitious cash flow projection that I did. And for simplicity's sake, I also just put down cash sales in just one line item shown here. So let's go back to March when we had the stay home mandate and the shutdown that happened. And basically towards the end of the March, sales did drop off. However, cash paid out did pretty much remain the same. There was some small decreases in purchases and wages and owner's withdrawal. However, with the drop in sales, this did create a negative cash flow on hand position for the end of March, the beginning of April. So let's take a look at what that looks like here on this cash flow projection. So here we are, cash on hand. And again, if you could follow my cursor, in January, we had 10,000 and we had cash sales of 20,000, which is great. In February, we had cash on hand, the beginning of the month of 7,400, and cash sales were 30,000. So we had a great month in February. However, in March, we started out with a cash on hand of 9,800, started out really good. However, sales did drop off to 5,000. So we did take a big hit in sales. Moving over to this side, cash paid out, you can see that for purchases, we did decrease our purchases towards the end of the month from 17,000 in February and 12,000 in January, all the way down to 10,000 in March. We also cut back on our wages, shown here, from 3,000 to 2,000. All other expenses pretty much remain the same, and we did take down our owner's withdrawal. This left a negative cash position of 3,800 shown here at the bottom. So that negative 3,800 gets brought forward to the beginning of April, shown here. So in the beginning of April, starting out with a negative 3,800, knew we were in trouble and we had to make some changes. And again, the changes that we made are reflected on this projection. But before we did this projection, again, we wanted to figure out how much in savings did we have that we could possibly inject into the month of April. And then did we want to take out any loans? So we had figured that we had some savings on hand. We had about $20,000 in savings, let's say, and we had the opportunity to take out a $10,000 loan. So let's see how that looks like when we made these entries. So here we are starting in the beginning of April. We had negative 3,800. Our cash sales, we projected that was going to drop even further to $2,000 from a drop of $5,000. Here's where we did an owner's contribution. We had an injection of cash from our savings. Again, this is why it's important to have the discipline to set aside cash for when you do need to inject it into your cash flow budget. Then moving over to the cash paid out for the month of April, we did 0 purchases. Wages were cut, as was advertising and marketing, shown here, as was travel and entertainment and office supplies. And we took a 0 in owner's withdrawal. This gave us a positive cash flow above water of $500 for the end of April. So this $500 then gets moved up to the beginning of May, and you can see we have a cash on hand at the beginning of May of $500, which is way better than having a negative cash flow at the beginning of April of 3,800. So for the beginning of May, we projected that sales were going to increase slightly. So we went from 2,000 in April to 3,000 in May. Then we projected, and we did confirm that we did get a loan of $10,000 from our local lender, and that was an entry shown here. Then moving over to cash paid out, we did increase our inventories and supplies because they started getting low. So we went back up to 5,000, but not as much as we were doing in the past months shown here. Then moving down, we were able to get a deferment on our lease from our landlord, which was another huge savings of $3,000 shown here. And we did add $1,000 for owner's withdrawal shown here. And this brought us back up to a positive cash flow of $6,000, as you can see shown right here. So by being able to interject some cash from our savings of $7,000, by being able to get a loan of $10,000, by being able to defer our lease of $3,000, you can see it had a positive effect on our cash flow overall. And by if I do this, then this will happen. It's if-then scenarios. And we do recommend that you do several cash flow projections to see how things will play out. Because if for those that don't have any savings set aside to interject into your cash flow, or if you're unable to obtain a loan of any sort, then it will have an effect on your cash flow, and you have to start considering other things of what you need to do. Again, for those that do want assistance in filling out a cash flow projection, we are able to help you with that at the Small Business Development Center. And we're going to move on then to discussing some other things to consider to improve cash flow. So one of the things that we already discussed is definitely negotiate your lease terms with your landlord. We found that a lot of landlords were very good at doing this with a lot of business owners through the months of March, April, and May, and so on. And this is something that you can always do as well, even if there isn't a shutdown, even if you do have some cash flow issues, definitely talk to your landlord and see what they can do with for deferred payments. Also negotiate any late payments, due dates, and have any late fees waived, especially with your credit cards. And then do ask for an increased line of credit from your banks or local lenders, as well as any vendors and with your credit cards. As well as ask your credit card companies if they can change the due dates to offset your payroll dates. Sometimes this can be a challenge come payroll time and you have your credit cards are due. So definitely consider that. And then do think about comparing, maybe this is a good time to change credit card companies and compare some lower rates or even some cashback and rewards programs. Some other considerations, which we did a lot at our business, is returning to vendor and your suppliers, any slow sellers. But do ask first before you start sending merchandise back to your suppliers, and do negotiate restock fees. We found that we had really great relationships with our suppliers, and they understood our challenges and they took back our merchandise no problem. Also, a really big one is managing your receivables, especially those that are over 30 days old. We found that in our business, we extended terms to a lot of our customers, and we would get sometimes we'd get clients that would pay 30 days, 60 days, 90 days out. And by then we've already paid our suppliers, so it did create a cash flow crunch. So do ask your customers, reach out to them and ask if they can at least make partial payments, anything over 30 days, or if they can give you a commitment date to make a full payment, so it would help you with your cash flow projections. Just a side note, this can be kind of a touchy subject with a lot of business owners, especially with their bread and butter customers and their repeat customers that they do have on terms. But it is important to communicate with your customers. Also consider changing your payment terms on to some of your clients that do have a consistency of paying late all the time. Do consider changing them to only credit card or payment up front. And then also any new customers going forward, maybe put a hold on extending terms, at least through these challenging times that you may have with your cash flow. And then also consider pushing selling gift certificates or memberships. This is a quick way, especially if it's credit card only, payment up front. It's a quick way to interject some cash receipts and some cash flow because a lot of them are not used right away. Some other considerations, if you do have sales staff, think about paying your sales staff only when they pay instead of when the sale is booked. Now, this again can be kind of touchy, especially if you have sales staff that aren't used to this sort of policy, and do communicate with them that it's just a short-term thing that you're doing, or consider it a long-term thing. A lot of sales staff understand cash flow issues with the business, but do communicate with them as well. A big one is definitely eliminate any travel and entertainment expenses. If you have to put off going to your favorite trade show because of cash flow crunch, definitely that's just gonna have to hold off. And then also revise and cut back some of your marketing strategies, especially with unproven results. What I mean by that is if you have a new, which we did a lot, is if you're testing out a new marketing project that, for example, doing a direct mail piece or doing a magazine insert that we're not sure if it's going to draw the sales we want, then maybe consider holding that off. But do keep the marketing that is working for you, such as online sales and any online marketing. Do keep up on that, especially right now. And then again, consider reducing your payroll and labor costs and doing short-term cuts to your staff and hours. The main thing here is do take care of your staff. They are a big component of your business, and you want to take care of them and communicate with them. Do offer unemployment as well, and help them out as much as you can. Some other considerations, what we did once in a while, we would subcontract our work. If we found that, especially in our operations, we decorated a lot of uniforms that we did, we would embroider them quite a bit. And sometimes when we slow down and during the fall season would slow down a little bit, we would subcontract that work out to other embroidery shops in the Grand Rapids area. And we found that sometimes this did have an impact on our cash flow and was a lower cost. But do know that you lose some of your quality control whenever you subcontract out work. Also consider passing on shipping costs to your customers. And this was a big one for us too. We did a lot of free shipping offers if they placed an order, a certain order amount. That can really hit your bottom line, and you can take a hit on shipping costs, especially if you're doing a lot of shipping like we did. So don't be afraid to either raise your shipping cost to your customers and passing that on. And then also consider talking to some of your suppliers about drop shipping directly to your customers at no extra cost to you. Do be careful here though, and make sure you are working with trusted suppliers where they're not going to all of a sudden steal your customer and start selling direct direct to them. And then do cut back on any new merchandise buys. This is huge too, because that is a big expense, and only consider buying your best sellers. And you should know what are your best sellers and what's not moving. And then another big one that we would do once in a while is have a tent sale or a clearance sale or cash only on any old and obsolete inventory. This always helped with their a cash inflow. And again, you should have a good inventory management system in place, or at least know what merchandise, what things are not moving, and what are moving, and what's getting old. So some final thoughts. Even though you may have a pipeline of sales, which is awesome and great, you may have been awarded a contract, or you just landed a big account. However, if they're on terms, this can definitely get you in trouble with your cash flow. So do have money in the bank, set money aside to pay your bills. That's really important. Negotiate everything. We talked about negotiate this, negotiate that. It always consider negotiating everything that you can, and do have the discipline to set aside cash when you do run into any issues, and do get a grip on your expenses. Very important to do those things. And remember that cash is king. It is the lifeblood of any successful business. So that concludes this presentation, and we hope you were able to at least get some tips that will help you with any of your cash flow budget challenges. And if you would like further assistance, again, please do reach out to us. You can reach out to us by email, visit our website, or we're just a phone call away. So thank you again for listening to this presentation, and I hope you have great success in your business, and I hope that you make it a great day.